Jaguars always want to beat the Titans, but do they want to beat them this time? I think the answer is yes. But I'll tell you some things to watch for this weekend in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. You can find us wherever you get your podcast. That's wherever you watch your podcast or wherever you listen to your podcast. All you got to do is just go there and look up Locked On Jaguars and you'll see us. We're free to subscribe. Make sure you do that each and every day so you do not miss an episode of the show. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Hello and shout out to the everydayers for being here with us every day on a Locked On Jaguars. We really, really do appreciate it. All right, here's what we're going to talk about today. Is this the last time for Doug Peterson at home as the Jaguars host the Tennessee Titans in 2 days here? I would think it probably is, but you never know. With Shad Khan, you absolutely never know. Dewey carryover. We'll talk in the middle of the show. Last week, Dewey Wingard didn't hold back, just laid into it and said a bunch of things that we all kind of knew about the team. I think it's the first time we've actually heard a player pretty much be disgusted with the product they've seen. We'll see if that has any carryover to this game, if we can tell that from other players. At top, though, what we want to watch for in the actual football game. Now, we're not going to bury the lead. We're not going to act like the elephant in the room doesn't exist. There are a lot of people don't want the Jaguars to win this game. There's a chance that if they win this game, they could. I don't know the exact position. Right now, they're picking third in the draft, right? And I don't know the exact position, but there's a chance they might have the same record as the team that's in ninth place. Like if the Jaguars win and all of those teams behind them lose games, they could go from picking like third to like picking like ninth or 10th, I think, or at least having the same record as a lot of those teams. And, you know, none of that stuff really matters to people right now, but it might matter come Monday, like next Monday. If folks say it doesn't matter, the Jaguars are going to screw the pickup anyway, right? Well, what if they fire the GM and the coach? Then it will matter, right? Then it will matter. Whoever takes over this team has to look at and evaluate what is here already. So that's why I think this game, I'm going to give you some pointers and things to really look forward to. I think T'Vondre Sweat and Simmons are playing on the defensive line. I did not see an injury report that had either one of those players out. So that's what I'm going to focus on. Even if they aren't playing. I think Jeffrey Simmons, that's what I'm talking about. Both of them about 300. Well, one of them about 380, but the other one is about 330, and they are a handful to deal with. I want to see if the Jaguars' interior of their offensive line, since we know both teams are without their quarterbacks, and the Jaguars are missing some other key people. Walker Little will not play. I want to see what they have guard to guard. I'm assuming Brandon Sheriff won't be here next year, so it's more or less on the other side that I'm thinking about. I really do want to see exactly what it is that they have. I'd be very interested to find out what any prospective candidates thought about the offensive line. One that has Anton Harrison at right tackle, another that has Walker Little extended and committed at left tackle. I would probably guess that coaches think that they can coach anybody up, right? He might look at that, or whoever it is might look at that as a good thing when it comes to the offensive line. But he also might look at it as, I don't think I can eventually win a championship with those two. I need better. And that's the dilemma when you have guys giving guys contract extensions, like especially if they're not going to stay. And, you know, a lot of this will cease to mean anything if Trent Balke is still here as GM, because he would be the guy that's evaluating the roster, and he would be the guy making the decisions on the roster that he had already put together. That'd be a classic mistake, though, if Shad Khan did that. But still, you have to consider everything. But if it's somebody new, If it's someone new, I would be upset. I would probably be kind of tight that I would be dealing with Walker Little in the first year of his extension. I would want that to be something that I did. Now it's not catastrophic because the dude ain't making a whole bunch of money, but he's making too much money to sit on the bench. He's making like $15 million a year. That's too much money for him not to be starting. It's too much money for you to have questions about him. And whoever takes over won't feel the same way about him if you're looking at it in a vacuum, because the Jaguars are looking at it as re-signing someone that they drafted, which fiscally looks like the most responsible thing to do. It signals a shift that you finally got the things into your system that you need, and now you just have to make sure you do retention. The only problem is that they're doing that this year, and you look at the record, and they're picking third right now, and they're 3-12. May not win another game this year. May top out at 5. They're going to top out at 5 games won, regardless. All right. So whatever they were trying to do hasn't matched the end result, which is the ultimate result, which is winning. And they've been re-signing their own guys now, and they've been retaining their players. So for me, if I'm looking at it coming in, I'm thinking like, okay, how can I get to the playoffs? How can I be good enough to compete with those teams? And if it's a guy coming from one of those type teams, nobody knows better than him. Like if you go get Ben Johnson, nobody knows better than Ben Johnson what it takes to be really, really good, because they're really, really good right now in Detroit. And then he would have to ask himself, do I have guys that are way better than they were when we draft them and they deserve a contract extension, but do I have guys that I know I can get to the level of where I need to be, which is where I'm coming from? And that's going to be the challenge. Does a championship coach look at Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen and go, "You can win with that"? I would think you do that. That's my opinion of those players. Does a championship coach look at it and say, "We got a number one corner"? Well, you're paying Tyson Campbell like a number one corner. Is he a number one corner? And then if he doesn't live up to that in your mind, why? What is it that he doesn't do, or what was he asked to do that's preventing him? Because now the money is already there. You spend it already. You already spent the money. We'll get to more of that. We're going to talk about the Dewey carryover. Do we see heads hanging? Do we see it in their play now that someone has let it out of the bag that everybody is like really, really disappointed, and they know that some guys aren't working as hard as it seems that they should? We'll discuss that more here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Game Time. Listen, man, Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better. And it's the perfect gift. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. I'm telling you, man, Game Time is never, ever, you're never too late to go to Game Time. Nobody will ever tell you that you waiting is not their emergency, because Game Time actually does specialize in last minute tickets. Also, priority picks, Game Time picks, all in pricing, seat views, the whole thing. Just take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time and download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code. I'll spell it out for you. LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, moving along here on Locked On Jaguars on Friday. Nice, beautiful Friday outside here in Jacksonville, Florida. The Jaguars play their last home game of the season against the Tennessee Titans. Of course, that will be this Sunday. I know it's going to be bittersweet for y'all for this season to end, but Hey man, and things are going to start looking different here moving forward too, because they're going to start getting prepped, ready to build that stadium. That's right. So things will look a lot different the next time you see the Jacksonville Jaguars on the field here in Jacksonville. But bittersweet that it has to come to an end. You spend so much time looking forward to football, and then all of a sudden you have a year like the Jaguars had this year, and folks have been waiting for this thing to end in for 2 months or more. But what are you waiting for to end? Are you waiting for the season to end, or are you waiting for this chapter of the Jaguars to end? And do you have some sort of uncertainty of whether or not this chapter will truly end? Or will it be tweaked and extended? Those are big questions. I think if you tweak it and extend it, you're going to leave remnants, a little residue of what a lot of what everybody's already seen. And I don't think anybody wants that. All you got to do is go back and listen to the words of Dewey Wingard in the locker room from Houston last week, man, and talking about his snaps being limited and how he's been healthy the whole, for a few weeks, just wasn't playing. But when he does get a chance to play, he goes out there and he does his thing. And you got to really wonder how many dudes on that team are really feeling that way. Like their body is where they are, but their mind is in Cancun somewhere or Aruba. Because people might just want to go on vacation and just forget about this whole thing, man. And once those things have been verbalized, especially by a shoot it straight player like Andrew Wingard, Dewey, you can't really put that back in the bag, man. And we were all sitting here wondering like when somebody was just going to come out and just and bust open and let all of that energy leak out. And Dewey actually did it. And I don't think it's problematic either. The reason why I don't think it's problematic is because I thought it was actually a jolt of energy, because we all know it. That's how you're supposed to feel right now. And so by him showing that raw emotion like that and saying the things that he said, it resonated with a lot of people and a lot of fans. And a lot of people were like, hey, man, we feel the same way. I'm telling you, messaging, man, they think people are like, I know some fans can be fanny. Some fans can tell you that that the way that you think is wrong, and I really don't like when people do that. Like there are a lot of people that don't want to win this game this weekend. They just want to get the best draft pick possible. There are other people that say, how dare you not want to beat the Titans, or we experience such lows around here. How dare you just kind of root for your team to lose? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I understand both sides. I just think you need to feel how you feel and let somebody else feel how they feel and leave it at that. But it kind of does feel good when somebody comes out that's actually in it, that has skin in the game, and they're sitting there telling you that they're pissed off and frustrated that it's gone this way too. I hope they don't penalize or punish my man Dewey. I hope they actually let Dewey get on the field. I really hope that they don't penalize or punish him or sort of limit his minutes the way that they were doing before he even said anything. That'd be petty and childish of them to do that, but who knows? Who knows how they're going to feel? Look, the game this week is only going to be another display for young players. I mean, to really show up and show out and put out some good tape, so that in the future, whoever runs this team, or maybe somebody on another roster, the pro personnel people, when these guys try to get into training camps, that they're able to do that and find them a home. These guys aren't going to put out bad tape. Not for the sake of trying to lose. I mean, the Jaguars, the whole season has really been bad tape if you think about it, but players themselves don't think the way fans do. And I understand it. They have pride. They only get 17 of these things every year. And some of these guys only going to get 3 or 4 years to finish living out their dream of playing professional sports. So it's not going to be a situation where guys are just going to be quitting. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to do that. But I do want to know, and I do want to see the attitudes and we used to watch games and teams were losing and dudes be on the sideline laughing and joking. Except Jalen Ramsey, he used to care. He used to cry, and people picked at him about that. But the body language and the mannerisms, the things that we have not questioned about this team, I'm starting to think that there might be a reason to watch that stuff this weekend. Might be a reason for everybody to watch and pay attention to that stuff this weekend. Maybe it's the last time for Doug Peterson as the head coach of the Jaguars to coach in this stadium. That's something that we have to touch on, and we'll take a look at that and make sure we do. I'm gonna do Doug right though, man. I'm gonna say some nice things about Doug Peterson here in segment number 3 because he took over this team at a really, really rough time. So say some nice things to Doug Peterson. I'll probably even say some nice things about Trent Balke since I believe this is both of them's last game. We'll talk about it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Hillsdale College. If you're sitting around and just going through social media, wasting your time learning about nothing, well, you got to realize that time is your most precious commodity, so don't waste it just scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. You can spend it wisely to improve yourself. Study history, economics, the great works of literature, and the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Or you can find your own things to go and study, all at Hillsdale College, and that's our sponsor. Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including the Constitution 101, History and Meaning of the Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Great American Story, Land of Hope, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, Socialism, and Communism. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. All right, moving along here on a Friday. Christmas time is over. We're headed towards the new year. The Jaguars are headed towards the end of a year where people would really, really want to forget it. It has not gone the way that they thought. And that means that some people may be without a job. And I'm not just talking about players. Maybe Doug Peterson has coached will be coaching his last game here in Jacksonville. And perhaps Trent Balke will be the GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars at home for the last time. I would move on from both of them, as I have made it very clear here on Locked On Jaguars. And I think the prevailing thought is that everyone wants the Jaguars to move on. They want Shad Khan to move on and start anew. And I'm sure we'll have podcast after podcast if and when that does occur. And we'll be talking about who is possibly going to take over the team for Shad. Doug Peterson took over this team at a time that they really, really, really needed some football competence. They needed a calming influence. They needed something that resembled championship level football from a competence standpoint, from having a real NFL offense that could actually score points. And for the most part, Trent Balke and Doug Peterson together actually did that. They lifted the franchise up, and the franchise finished 9-8, two consecutive years, and that's the first time in history that the franchise won more games than they lost in successive seasons. Now, the problem is the way that those wins and losses seem to add up. It was like a tale of two different teams within each season. Slow start, fast finish, fast start, slow finish. So that left this third year is, okay, what are we going to do? They seem to have two different philosophies, if you will, from year to year, from the first year of Doug Peterson to the second year in the offseason. Whereas the first year, they were like, nope, we're not going to do anything. We're going to be a draft and a develop team. And then the second year, they actually said they liked their team the first year. Let me correct that. They said they liked their team. They ran it back with everybody. They got off to a fast start, and then they fizzled down the stretch. It was almost like fool's gold. So then they said we're going to be a draft and develop team. But after, it's almost like saying, God, I'll get myself together, but I'm going out and I'm going to hang out one more time and do whatever I want to do tonight. Because the Jaguars said that they were a draft and develop team, and then they were very, very heavy in free agency. So, and then Shad came out and said, we can't keep doing this, So the thing is, what they did was they re-signed a bunch of their players, Josh Allen, Tyson Campbell. During the season, they redid Walker Little, Trevor Lawrence, the big one. Don't let me forget about that one, right? They hit on the draft with Brian Thomas Jr., but for some reason, something is still missing. Something is still missing. So the appreciation of both of those guys from the standpoint of where it was, and even though Trent Balke was a part of the whole Urban Meyer mess, from where it was, I have to say, hey, man, thank you. Thank you. And then I got to say, but, because as much as those things are true, it's also true that what they have done isn't enough to save them, because this organization still has some steps that they need to go. And right now, not only do they appear stuck, they appear to be going backwards. They appear to be going backwards. It's like the rabbit has the gun. It's like the expectations are higher. It's like everybody's sitting here watching and they can't get out of their own way. And then they don't have an explanation for it. They can't tell you why they play the way that they play. They can't tell you why they don't get the things that they're supposed to get. And by get, I mean figure out. Can't tell you why they seemingly figure out a new way to lose every week, but in the same fashion. Like we lose the same way, but it's kind of different, but it's kind of the same. And the Jaguars right now, their culture is just synonymous with finding a way to shovel poop on yourselves. That's what it is. And poop ain't the word I wanted, but I had to make sure we do this a family show. They really do. God, they mess up so much, man. They just pour too much salt in the gumbo or something, bro. It's like every time. If there was something that needs to be done to make something turn into a dumpster fire, somebody down there is going to figure out a way to do it. And for me, it's just, they can't even explain it. I wonder if they've tried to explain it to Shad. I wonder if when Shad goes, what's wrong? What do they say? What kind of answers do they have? Because any true and honest answer implicates them. Because whatever it is, they were supposed to take care of it. If you say we're not big and strong and physical enough, guess what that means? You didn't make the team big, strong, and physical. If you say we're undisciplined, well, what does that tell you, Doug? You didn't have any discipline. And when you say we don't play complementary football, well, you guys built the staff. At some point, just like when players get cut, people get cut because they don't get it done. They can't cut it. So when you can't cut it, you get cut. If it is the last home game, how would these two be remembered? Hopefully they'll be remembered in Jacksonville as people who came at what may have been the most. I don't think the Urban Meyer thing was as bad as the Daniel Snyder thing in Washington. So I won't go and say the worst that it has been in any sport. In Jacksonville sports history, this was the Urban Meyer fiasco was by far the worst thing that I've ever seen. It was the worst time to be a Jaguar fan. I'm telling you, man, it was awful. Now, from a podcast standpoint, the ratings were through the roof because it was so bad. It was like a dumpster fire. Like, what can happen today? Dude on the video dancing, saying they're trying to get me to the dance floor. And then they show another video and you were trying to get to the dance floor, all right? The dance floor that was in that girl's trousers. That's what you were trying to get to. But hey, man, it was a bad time for us. He ran kicking people in practice and saying he didn't do it. On videotape, dog, you kicked him. Everybody saw it. I mean, it was just a comedy show of error. So they came along and just made it about football, at least again. Thank you, Doug, and thank you, Trent. I can't help but laugh about that entire. Y'all think it's bad now, this team being 3-12? I was here in 2020 and 2021. Look, Urban was different. This ain't even bad compared to that. But I digress. If it's their last game here, man, I want everybody to at least remember them for their contribution as getting us past that circus. Because that, I'm telling you, it was something else. So, yeah, beat the Titans or not beat the Titans, that's the question. Worry about draft pick status and all of that stuff. Who knows? Who knows? But I'll have a postcast, whatever happens in that game. We'll talk about it on Locked On Jaguars because that's what we do. We talk about the Jaguars, and we'll have it about an hour after the end of the game Sunday. We'll be here in the studio dropping it, telling you exactly what happened, and see if the Jaguars can at least look a little bit better. To lose 2 consecutive weeks to the Raiders and then to the Titans it kind of really lets you know just how bad this team is and how bad this season is gone. We'll have commentary every single day here on Locked On Jaguars because that's what we do. We make sure we let you know everything that's going on with the team, and we will do that. Tune in, like I say, for a postcast on Sunday. And after the postcast, we'll see where the Jaguars are at and the direction that they're going in the future. Until then, you guys take care. We'll see you next time on Locked On Jaguars.